All right, who's in the blender? Let's keep the combo going. Super Bowl 59. One winner, one loser here on the Juice Bar. Look, Chiefs obviously have a lot to kind of regroup and talk out here, but just overall, we know what went wrong, but when it comes down to why this team lost, getting into it a little more on the Chiefs side of things, anything that sticks out?
It's just a roster thing. It's a talent thing surrounding Pat Mahomes. He hasn't been working with much for multiple years in a row, and he's been able to lift all boats by himself and get it done. He ran into a buzzsaw in an extremely talented squad in the Eagles. They just have to figure out how to get some more talent around him, and it starts in the trenches and protecting him.
If Bieniemy's there, does that offense go down like that?
I mean,
the enemy stock going up somewhere?
I don't typically shy away from opportunities to bash Matt Nagy for what he put me through in Chicago. So, yeah, he takes a little bit of an L for the offensive woes of the Chiefs last night. But overall, they ran into a team that is more talented, and it showed on the field.
Mahomes, 1 of 6 with 2 interceptions on passes of more than 5 air yards. He finished with 33 in the first half. That's the fewest in any game in his career. As far as just looking at who's in the blender, is Mahomes' Super Bowl performances arguably in the blender? Our producer Ben just said off air, he has been smacked around twice, and Brady's never lost a Super Bowl by more than 1 score.
He had 3 turnovers yesterday. He has now 7 interceptions in Super Bowls. He turns the ball over. I tweeted it. Pat Mahomes from week 1 through 11 showed up again. That's what he looked like early in the year.
Yeah.
He was turning the ball over at an alarming rate.
Well said.
And when you create pressure like that, then you go down multiple scores early. It's not that. So this is the thing. Philly was creating pressure and turning the ball over, and then Philly was turning it into points immediately. It wasn't like they turned it over and let them breathe. It was turnover, touchdown. Turnover, touchdown.
Turnover deep to
and
Devontae.
And it's 17-0, and now I'm under pressure, and I'm pressed to get us back in the game, and I don't really have top-end talent.
Right.
And now I'm starting to see a little bit of ghosts. Mahomes, we had put him in a spot where he wasn't susceptible to outside noise and pressure. He would just always figure it out.
Yeah.
He just looked a little human yesterday.
From your quarterback vantage point, I just can't get over why there weren't 3-step drop, quick route tree decisions. That's the only way, if you're not going to run the ball, and they clearly didn't, to alleviate front four pressure. How many quick throw? I just think about Manning and Brady did that. Breeze did that. It's tempo, it's timing, it's quick releases. There were no quick releases. Is Mahomes not have that in his arsenal? Are they too big for their britches over there to do quick slants, curls, down and outs?
That's what they've been doing all year. Patrick Mahomes is dead last in air yards per attempt. They've been throwing the ball short and quick all year long. The best play they ran, funny enough, was the first play of the game, or second, where, remember they've been running this worthy motion, and they'll stop and go back, and it'll turn into a swing?
Yep.
They ran that on the first or second play, but then through the wrinkle of Schuster running like a cross.
Yeah.
So everyone's looking for the swing, and then they went to Schuster. But I never saw that play again.
Yeah, it worked.
It worked. They never went back to that. They never went back to a lot of motion. When you don't run it, you can't run play action. They were dropping Mahomes back and just telling him to answer all questions, and he couldn't do it.
If this was like an NBA game plan, is it just like one star and you shut down the star and then maybe get in his head and then he starts not trusting his teammates? I cannot get over. They, for 5 playoffs runs in a row, have at least ran the ball a little bit. It's not their main game plan.
Yeah, they capitulated.
Sean.
They capitulated. They succumbed to the pressure that they typically put on people and get them out of their comfort zone. That's what Philly did to Kansas City.
So speaking on all things off season here, as far as who's in the blender, if you're Mahomes, you're the leader, you want to speak up on obviously not having the talent pool that Philly had. What's a move or two you think that he should ask for?
Yeah, you got to figure out the trenches. I think you got to go get some more skill players. Hopkins was a good idea. It didn't seem like he had too much juice left. Juju Smith-Schuster is a journeyman at this point. Wide receiver 3 at best. if you go look at the roster on skill position players, Kansas City's towards the bottom of the league, if we're being honest. Pacheco, really good story, good runner. He's not like a top-end running back.
He must be livid right now.
We'll see how he looks coming back next year, but
I didn't even run the ball.
yeah, they didn't run the rock. So, yeah, it's tough. So, yeah, they're in the blender because they have to improve. There are these windows. You have these guys, once-in-generational guys.
Yeah.
You just have to do everything in your power to provide them with talent that makes them even greater than they are, and that should be the focus for the Chiefs.
To put a
on
button
on the Chiefs not running, to put a button on that point, Pacheco had 18 carries in the last Super Bowl, and then the first one against the Eagles, he had 15. So he was definitely a big difference, at least last.
Yeah, it's a great point. I mean, at least establish a run. I guess to put a button on it here, as we look at next year's futures, their Chiefs are at the top again to win the whole thing, obviously to win the AFC. Would you say they're in the blender going into next season in any regard? Juice Bar shout out here, or is it one game you don't overreact? Because the likelihood of Philly even getting back is a tall order as well. So theme-wise, will they even see that matchup again out of the NFC? You got Commanders, you got Lions, you got a lot of teams in the NFC coming. Minnesota in that conversation. Any thoughts here on just Chiefs as a whole in the blender?
Well, when expectations are as high as they're going to be when you have the best player in the league at quarterback, you're always going to be in the blender because people are always going to expect you to win 12 or 13 games and host the NFC. Since he's taken over, he's in the AFC Championship every year.
I know.
So they're in the blender in a sense to where they have to try to keep that up. He's not in the blender like Josh Allen's in the blender.
No way.
He's not. They're not in the blender like Baltimore's in the blender. I would say
do you look
they
at
have
them
a lot of leeway.
Do you look at them, just back to that line, put a button on it, Brady never lost by more than one score. Do you look at them not punching back any differently legacy-wise? Honestly, I'll remember where I was for that game and not watching them have any life.
Well, you know what's perfect? We have this exact situation to look back on from when they played Tampa Bay. We forgot about that when they started winning again, and he wins 2 Super Bowls in a row. We're not worried about that.
So you're here for the bounce back.
So if they bounce back and win another Super Bowl, then it's like, it's part of the.
But here's something to talk out: 3-2. Brady went 7-3. So now Patrick has to go 4-1. And he loses the tiebreaker.
Well, if we're talking
just
about
to go 7-3.
If we're talking about the GOAT conversation, then yeah,
I think it's tabled for a couple of years.
It's a tough pill to swallow. Just like if you're talking LeBron and Jordan, like there's a lot of losses for LeBron in the finals that Jordan never even came close to having. Never saw a Game 7.
Right.
So there's that element. But yeah, if we're talking GOAT, they're going to be like, yeah, but he got dusted off twice in the playoffs. And Brady never did that. So,
will we ever see 3 to end the segment?
I don't know if we'll ever see 3.
I don't think we will.
The NFL is too competitive. The salary cap is too tight. The quarterbacks are taking up so much of the cap. It'll be very, very difficult to win 3 Super Bowls in a row.
Well said. That's who's in the blender to put a cap on 2024-2025 NFL season. Juice Bar at Dish.
Appreciate you guys watching the Juice Bar Weekly. In the description below, go lock in, subscribe. Anywhere you find your audio podcast, the Juice Bar will be on there. iTunes, Spotify, across the board. Lock in. Tell a homie to tell a friend. The Juice Bar's live everywhere.